Another person who auditioned for Harker was Charlie Sheen.
Oh my God.
I mean, listen, Budapest is pretty bad, but Charlie Sheen's accent would have been worse. I guarantee you it would have been worse.
Oh my God.
The Articulate Coven is the original, unofficial fan podcast and community for Anne Rice's Interview with the Vampire, The Vampire Chronicles, The Lives of the Mayfair Witches, and the Immortal Universe from AMC and AMC Plus.
Okay. All right. Anyway, I'm just going to roll with it, and we're going to let it be what it is. All right, here we go.
We're going to do our best.
We're doing it live, Ashley.
We're doing it live!
We're doing it live!
We could. We're bold.
Well, oh, man, I had a daydream today about, like, hey, what if we can get a bunch of people to register and say they'll do it when Anne's celebration of life finally happens, and we could, like, rent out the back of a bar or something and have like a hangout, like an official hangout somewhere.
That would be
like
very
not
fun.
Just get together somewhere, but like, what if we can have a room? All right, here we go. Welcome to the Articulate Coven. We are your hosts. I'm Joel.
I'm Ashley.
And we are the Articulate Coven. The Articulate Coven is the unofficial fan podcast and community for Anne Rice's
So articulate?
I said we were going to do it live, damn it.
Oh, we're doing
Anne Rice's Immortal Universe, including Interview with the Vampire, The Mayfair Witches, the forthcoming Talamasca series, and of course the books that all of these shows are based on. Ashley, we're not talking about any of that shit tonight, though.
No, we're sure not. We're sure not. We are going to be discussing some vampires, though.
Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Francis Ford Coppola's Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Ashley, how long had it been since you'd seen this film?
I would say it's been at least 5 years, I would say, for sure. And I haven't watched it from start to finish in a very long time. That was the other thing. I was like, I have not watched all of this in a very long time.
So I rewatched this not that long ago. I'm thinking it was probably about 2.5, maybe 3 years ago. I think it was maybe during October. I was on a sprint and I watched both this and Kenneth Branagh's Mary Shelley's Frankenstein, right? Which was just like very much, hey, this worked. Let's run it back again with with a different creative crew.
And it did. It was very good. I haven't rewatched that in a long time.
Okay, so the last time that I watched it, I remember thinking that Frankenstein is actually a better overall film. This one, like, takes some bigger swings than Frankenstein does.
Absolutely.
And I think it hits them mostly. It hits the mark. But Frankenstein is much more, I think, an even keel film. It's very much a Kenneth Branagh film. And this is like, I guess this is like, I don't know what Coppola you could compare this to. Like, it's not
very different. It's the only thing that I would, it's very epic. It's very, very, huge and big and epic. But there's like creative choices in this, like puppetry and shit done in silhouette and all kinds of things that like is not like Coppola's game usually.
There's these crazy Sam Raimi zooms in like a stuttered slow motion that are like. Yeah. What is this stuff? Anyway, the whole thing feels like a fever dream at times.
Yes.
But that's appropriate if you've ever read the novel.
Yes, it is. And I had forgotten about the like the journal aspect that they kind of use to sort of move things along, and that's like straight out of the book. Like that's the whole book is really like journal entries and letters and such. And so that's a really good like link to the book. Immediately I was like, oh shit, I forgot about this whole thing, this whole way of moving the story along. It's not always my favorite, but
there's a big fancy word. Yes, it is Coppola. There's a big fancy word for that type of novel, and I'm not going to say it because it's one of those words that I've read a lot more than I've heard out loud, but I'm going to put it on screen right now. It's this one. This is the word. How would you say that, friends?
Tell us in the comments.
Anyway, I have always loved this novel. I've always loved this novel. I read it when I was a kid, and I've reread it several times since then. It's like, it's so much more than the film. I had rented a lot of the Universal monster movies from the 20s and 30s and 40s from like the resource library of my local public school board. My mom was a public school teacher, and she would take me in there and be like, hey, grab some movies for the weekend. So one of the monster movies were some of the things that were in there that were like the more exciting things. So I'd grab those and I'd watch like The Wolfman a million times. And I particularly liked the Invisible Man is really, really good. It's like an interesting and different one. But the Dracula I had always felt was kind of dry. So when I finally got around to reading the novel, I was like, this is dope.
Yeah, it is. It's a really, and it's a quick read. Like, I remember picking it up and thinking, this is probably going to take me a few minutes. But I tore right through it. It's a pretty fast read if you're like ready to go, you know, or if you're, you know, Ashley in the 90s, everything was a quick read.
There is a comment that I've got to pull up here real quick from our YouTube channel. I looked at it earlier, but I realized I don't have it on a device that's in front of me. So I'd made a post on the YouTube channel a while back with like a listing of our upcoming topics, episode topics. And Donnie Canone says, clap hands excitedly. Dracula, guys, it's coming. Don't do me dirty, Coven. Respect the gym or I will cross oceans of time to find you. It is no laughing matter. And I told them, I replied, I said, I'd literally just finished a rewatch of this movie so that I could add a ton of notes so that we can cover it adequately. That was not the case. I did not have any interest in rewatching. I'll be very honest with you. I did not have interest in rewatching Love at First Bite. But I watched it with Kelly one night and I took a handful of notes, but I was mostly just enjoying it because it had been a couple of years since I'd seen it. And it was surprising me. I was like, oh yeah, I'll remember all of this. Right. But I was like, oh, I forgot about that. And I forgot about this thing. I forgot about this thing. So when she and I were done with it, I was like, I need to go back with my phone out so I can actually take notes while things happen. So I took a ton because there's a lot to say about this movie. So that's what we're going to get to. I do want to do a couple of things business-wise up front. One more time, I want to say a big thank you to Rashad Bell for our intro video, the moving logo that you see at the beginning of our episodes. That is from him. He's a member of our Facebook group, longtime member. He made that just because he wanted to, and it's great.
We love you.
Thank you. Thank you, Rashad. Two, we've got a couple of recent videos up on the YouTube channel that I want to tell you about in case you're not already over there. If you've just been listening to the podcast, we are making individual videos that aren't going out in audio because they're not really made for an audio medium. Right. Ashley has a new reaction to a Charlie Rose Anne Rice interview from '98. Yep. Ashley, you got to talk about a political scandal. Did you expect that in a Charlie Rose interview with Anne?
I did not see that coming. I did not expect a spectacularly kind of bad take on it. But I also have to admit that I think almost all of us shared that spectacularly bad take at that time.
It's interesting because when all of that happened in '98, in the late '90s, we've talked about on the show, I come from a very, fundamentalist religious background, and my parents are very conservative. I was very conservative until I got to college, honestly. And in most ways, I was very conservative. Yeah, you guys did. Well, what you did is you like cracked me open, right? Like I had been warring in particular on the question of like LGBTQ issues. I'd been warring about that since I was like 12 or 13 because of Anne's works and because of my exposure to theater. I was a theater kid already. But even for me, I was like, that's not a great reason to throw a president out, right? But also on the left, they were so like flabbergasted with the whole scandal that they did end up pointing fingers at the women involved. And it's in retrospect, I mean, look, Bill's standing in the Democratic Party and in left politics has like shrunk significantly, right?
Well, right,
like we push him to the background a little bit.
Right, we don't want to talk about it. We don't want to talk about it. See, and my problem is that I'm from Arkansas. I grew up in Hot Springs. We grew up in the same hometown. He was one of my first crushes. I would get so excited. We'd go on a field trip and I'd be like, we're going to the Capitol. Do you think we'll see the governor?
See the governor.
Oh my God. I hate myself. No, it's very true. So like I have very high tolerance for Bill Clinton shenanigans. I can't help it. And now he's still a man that likes balloons. I don't know what happened.
Give yourself like an extra 7-8 years, Ashley. You could have been involved in some of those scandals.
Oh my God. I know. Like, If only I knew at the time how much he was into interns.
Redheads.
Man. Bless us all.
Oh, man. Okay. All right.
So back to it. We did reaction video.
So that video is up.
I immediately texted Joel and I was like,
So funny.
I got a little loud in that one, I think.
Okay,
I don't know.
Did you react, or was it I that reacted to one of us got to react to the video where she talks about the flat tax too? Like, what are you? Anne had some opinions in the 90s, man.
She and wanted everyone to know that woman was for social media. Like, I wish that like Twitter had been a thing then.
Oh man, she would have been so great today. I mean, if you go back, I think a lot of those Facebook Lives are available. You know, where she did long form videos and stuff with her assistant or whatever.
Right.
She was. But man, the posts were great too. A lot of people. Zach Brahani on the Facebook group has surfaced several posts of hers from the Facebook group and her Facebook page back in the day. Anyway. Anne was a treasure, man. So that reaction video is up. I've got a new reaction video that should be up soon, if not already, by the time you see this, from MTV at San Diego Comic-Con. We've got a Collider still to come. We've got a CBR still to come. I think those should be the last couple of interviews from Interview with the Vampire anyway, from San Diego Comic-Con. I will say there are a handful of interviews out there from the Mayfair crew at San Diego Comic-Con, and we haven't reacted to any of those yet. We did react to the season 2 trailer together.
We did.
And I honestly don't know if I'm going to react to the interviews for Mayfair Witches. I think they might infuriate me. We don't like to poo-poo stuff just for the sake of poo-pooing it, you know.
Yeah, that's not really
what
our
do you
style.
Think?
Well, you know, I kind of want to watch to see if they all look dead in the eyes and like they're being held hostage,
or if at least they're having fun with it. That might be a good point.
Yeah.
All right. We'll pull a couple of the best ones out maybe and see if we can put a couple of reactions up for that.
And I'll say this: if I could like get behind someone. Like I find someone in the cast like super charming, or if I'm like, oh, they interview really well, or they have some insight. That might make me get on board with the whole thing a little bit more. I need someone to root for, Joel. I need someone to root for, and it can't be Buffalo fucking Bill.
Listen, just carry a book around, right? Like we don't honestly expect you to read it at this point. But just like hold one.
Maybe if I see a book in the show, I'll feel good. I don't know.
Also, I just put up a video called Interview with the Vampire 101, which is a great video in case you've got a friend who is just discovering the show on Netflix. Interview with the Vampire just premiered on Netflix, or is about to premiere on Monday, August 19th on Netflix. So if you're interested in that, that's on the YouTube channel. And I started a series this past week called Anne Versus. And so I did Anne Rice versus Anita Blake. I talked about the first 3 books in that series. I'm working right now on the script for a video about the Necroscope series from Brian Lumley, and I've got a couple of more in the pike, or in the what do you call it? I don't know. In the satchel. This is at the workshop. They're in my head currently. I don't know what to tell you. Christopher Pike. Ashley, are you familiar with the author Christopher Pike? Okay.
I fucking love Christopher Pike. I literally reread a Christopher Pike book last year. I was like,
which one?
Weekend. I was like, I want to reread Weekend. That was some crazy shit. There's like a poisoning in it and like a kidney disease, and it's just dramatic. Secret twins. Holy shit.
Chain Letter was I think that was the gateway drug for me. I think Chain Letter was like the first thing I read that was above a Goosebumps or something like that, you know?
Yeah, see, there was a whole collection of Scholastic Point horror books that were so much fucking fun. There was all kinds of different styles. There was one that was like at a carnival, and one that was like a sexy beach murder mystery, and like all kinds of fun shit. And I have been trying to track down these old ass books that are all out of print now, and so that I can relive, the Scholastic Book Fair days. I would love to be able to have my own little book fair moment in my.
Did you ever read the Last Vampire series from Christopher Pike?
I did not.
Okay, I think it's 6 books. Maybe there were 7, but they've been re-released in the modern era sometime as Thirst. And they're 3 books to a set, right? So you get 3 novels in one giant box, and that's Thirst Part 1, and Thirst Part 2 is the second 3 books. But I've got a copy of Thirst for the first 3 books together, and I keep thinking, I'm like, yeah, I need to put that on the list and go back and reread those books. I remember adoring them. And there's a couple of like cultural references that he apparently updated in the modern editions. I think he changes something about a phone call or something. And maybe he changes somebody's occupation too, to be more relevant for the modern day. I can't remember. I do know that there's a character with an AIDS subplot line, which was not, even at the time, I was like, I don't think that's the way we're supposed to talk about all of that. But but we'll see as I read it. That was one of the things I found out in the Anita Blake video. I've read the first 2 books in her series, which is a very interesting series, and it's good. I'm going to read some more, but they both came out. Those 2 came out in the early 90s. It was like 93, 94, I think, for those 2 books. And there's so much fat shaming in those first 2 novels in particular, like so much, and a lot of homophobia too. And like, knowing how crazy those books get sexually speaking, it's like, strange.
This is a little out of place in the early novels.
Yeah. Anyway, so all of that and more is on the YouTube channel, and we've got more coming. So go check that out. Articulate Coven on YouTube. Let's get to Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Yes.
So first and foremost, the creation of this film, I think, is kind of crazy.
It is really interesting. I was reading about that last night.
So here's the deal. Winona Ryder was supposed to be the youngest Corleone in Godfather Part 3.
Yes.
She was on set and like started filming.
I had no idea about all this.
Oh, okay. So I was very acquainted with that part because I'm a huge Godfather fan, and I have listened to a million people break down, what happened with Godfather 3 and why it's not the classic that it is. I will say, if you are a Godfather fan too and you've never liked Godfather 3, if you haven't seen Coppola's re-edit of it that came out like a year ago, it's called Godfather A Coda: The Death of Michael Corleone.
Ooh.
It's real good. I mean, it's not Godfather Part 2 good, but it is very, very good, and it's an improvement on the original film. So go check it out.
I like the third Godfather.
It's a good movie still. It's just not as good.
It's not as good. And Sofia Coppola, not great. Bless
Look,
her.
folks, I don't know what to tell you.
She's a great director. She's a great writer.
All of Anne's 18 novels are not the same level of quality either, right? Like you look at this pile of vampire books, and they're not all home runs. So anyway, Coppola was supposed to make, or excuse me, not Coppola. Francis Ford Coppola was going to make Godfather 3. Why did he even start the Godfather 3 process in the first place? Because he was bankrupt. American Zoetrope, his movie studio, was way in the red, and he had to make some cash quick to like get it back in the black, or he was going to lose the whole thing. So he signed up for Godfather 3 for a big paycheck. Winona Ryder was supposed to be part of that. She has effectively a nervous breakdown on set, like the first week of filming.
Exhaustion. She's been given the exhaustion is what's happened.
I mean, so look, there were a lot of things going on. We've talked about it a little bit in the past with Kiefer Sutherland and Julia Roberts. Stars of that age were having a very heavy time in 94, 93, 92. So like, shit was going down for everybody about that.
Yeah. There are overdoses and
I can't remember the specific thing that Winona was suffering from in her personal life, but there was a lot of stuff going on.
Yeah.
She had too much and just couldn't handle it. So she left.
Johnny Depp drama, early Johnny Depp drama.
Oh, that's right. I think it was Johnny Depp based. I think you're right. So she leaves the set and they're stuck, and it's like, what are we going to do? I've got this daughter that's handy. Let me shove her in the role. Sofia Coppola enters the role of the Mary Corleone, and it's basically derided by everybody. She's not horrible. She's just unprepared and not a match for. I mean, she's standing against freaking not De Niro, Pacino for most of the film. So like, what are you going to do?
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah. She
comes into the role, and the film is not a big success, but it does make enough money that he gets out of the hole.
Congratulations, buy your vineyard, friend.
Well, not quite yet. He had to wait. So again, he makes a couple of bad decisions, and they're still not like great. somebody suggests to him that he make like a big Hollywood picture. He's looking for an idea anyway. Winona Ryder was visiting him about another thing. I think it was like a Jack Kerouac movie, like On the Road or something. And she offered him the script that she had that was going around Hollywood at the time for Dracula. And he looked at it and he was like, yeah, this could be great. And so that's where this movie came from, is Coppola needed to make a big Hollywood movie and get a paycheck. And Winona Ryder needed to say, I'm sorry, and get him something better, since she had screwed up his Godfather movie. So like, it's a weird place to come from, but he was throwing it all at the wall on this thing. Like, Coppola's not phoning this in by any stretch of the imagination.
No one's phoning it in. Everybody's working their balls off. Like, that's something, like, immediately I was like, oh man, everyone's acting so hard. Like, everyone's acting so hard. And this is such a great film for Gary Oldman, for real, because number one, he gets to just eat. I mean, he just eats. He kills the role. He eats the scenery. He eats people. They eat babies. They do eat the babies in this, and so it's just, it's fantastic. He himself is such a chameleon in his career, but within this fucking movie, he looks like at least 30 different people.
Okay. That, of course, none of that had been done in the old Universal monster movie, like where the Count is old and ancient and decrepit looking, and then he becomes young and lively. Very, very cool. It's a cool part of the novel, honestly.
Yeah.
And the fact that they bring it to life so well here is great. I mean, honestly, the Netflix BBC thing that they did a few years ago, the miniseries, did you see that?
I didn't watch that. I don't know why.
It's a 3-part series. I would strongly suggest giving the first 2 parts a try. The third part is
skip the third.
It's not great. They don't stick the landing. But parts 1 and 2 are very, very cool with what they do. They basically do like all of the Transylvania section as the first movie. It's like I think it's like 70, 80 minutes long, and then they do part 2 where it's like the Voyage of the Demeter, basically. And that's like 70, 80 minutes long. Very, very cool stuff, man. And a good adaptation. But even so, what? That's like 30 years after this movie almost.
Yeah.
And still the special effects on that transformation from the old to the young weren't that much better than the movie did with Gary Oldman here. This is classic stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. I had forgotten how his act of blasphemy where he becomes a vampire. I'd forgotten kind of how he became a vampire to start with. I remembered the whole tragedy of it and the wife committing suicide. I remembered all that, but I did not remember the stabbing of the cross and all the blood. I was like, there's so much blood. It's like Nightmare on Elm Street, Johnny Depp. It was the elevator in The Shining. I was like, God, there's so much blood in here.
So I don't remember from the novel. Do you? Is he like the ultimate evil? Is he the progenitor of vampirism in the novel?
I don't remember. I don't think so. I think that's...
I can't remember either.
I think that might be an artistic liberty that was taken.
It's a cool idea, though.
Yeah, it is. And it's very cool.
It raises the stakes. I will say quickly here, though, if you look at like the whole arc of this movie, it's just like Memnoch the devil. Like, like he wars against God, and so he's serving the forces of darkness for a millennia basically, and then true love in the end, and he sacrifices himself, and he's redeemed, and it's all good.
Bless his heart. Man, that fucking armor that he wears in this opening battle sequence is so freaking cool. And Brett, my husband. So it used to be at a Planet Hollywood.
Really?
Like it used to be inside a Planet Hollywood. I'll have to ask. I'm guessing maybe Vegas. I'm not sure. I have to ask Brett. But so he was there and he saw it and he was like, "Let me tell you, Gary Oldman is a tiny motherfucker." Like that is the smallest armor you've ever seen in your life.
Yeah. Anytime you see like Hollywood costuming as a rule, you're going to be astounded by how small all these people are.
So short, so weak.
Okay, so the costume designer is Aiko Ishioka. I'm sure I'm mispronouncing that, but right off the bat, she's taking huge swings here with Dracula's armor. It's like the muscular structure on the outside.
Wolf. It's so
the red
cool
color, the wolf
looking.
head.
Yeah,
man, it's badass.
The costuming in this movie is Mwah. It is.
Yeah, it's really, really good.
Fantastic. Like, and I'm surprised how well. I mean, it's a period piece, so
Sure.
it's not, it's locked in its own time, but it holds up really well for a film that was made in '92. You know what I mean?
Okay, I think part of that,
For the most part.
Part of that is the framing with the things like you already mentioned, like the silhouettes and the puppetry that we see at different times. Okay, this whole thing has this feeling of theatricality, like it's literally playing out on a stage, except then it also does like very cinematic things, like these dramatic zooms I was talking about, like Sam Raimi style. And the combination is like, I don't know, it's unsettling a little bit, and it puts you in a place where you're not sure where you are. But again, I think that's all on purpose.
Yeah, 100%. It's fantastic. It's definitely, if you haven't watched it in a while, give it a watch, like for real, even if you don't do it in tandem with this episode or anything.
It's available right now as we speak. Anyway, it's available on Amazon Prime Video too, so it won't even cost you anything probably if you're a subscriber. Okay, so right in the top of the opening here, the prologue, I wanted to call out. So everybody notices it's Winona that's playing his his wife there, the princess. But it's easy to miss. Maybe it's Anthony Hopkins that's the priest. Yeah.
Yep.
Okay, I love the idea. So first of all, we talked about this with Love at First Bite, and Kelly and I mentioned it when we did our reaction on the YouTube channel for Fright Night, because it does the same thing. This idea of the reincarnation of the long lost love,
right?
And I was like, where does that come from exactly? And I got the answer for you here. Okay, so where is it? I've got the note. The first time that this happened was not in the original version of Dracula. It's not in the novel. It's not in the 1920s adaptation, et cetera, et cetera. The first time it comes up is in a Dracula adaptation from 1974. And it's been copied a ton since then. So it was pretty fresh. The idea was like in the public consciousness for what Dracula was when they did Love at First Bite. And not that far away when they did Fright Night.
It definitely gives it like a more romantic feel to it. It's less predatory and more like like there's a reason why he wants her so much, like it's not just because she's pretty, it's so it adds a whole different level to it and a whole different layer to it, which I mean turns up your give a fuck a lot too, which is fantastic.
All right, Ashley, you're 1,000,000% right. And let me tell you this, because I got to share this moment. Kelly and I are sitting here watching this on the couch. I don't think she'd ever seen it before. If she had, it had literally been, 25 years or something.
Fantastic.
So we're sitting there on the couch watching the movie. We get halfway through, probably. Gary Oldman has Winona Ryder in his arms on the streets of London. And he's, like opining in that great accent about how he's crossed through oceans of time to find you. Yeah. And Kelly pauses, grabs the remote, pauses it, turns and looks at me and goes, "Why do people like this thing again?"
Kelly has the best takes ever. I love Kelly's takes.
Listen, for her, it just didn't hit. And she was like, he looks weird. He's clearly a monster. Like, he's not like Lestat. He's not really sexy the whole time, even when his fangs are showing. He turns into this growling. Ridiculous. Why does she let the wolf screw her on the bench like that? Like, the whole 9 yards, like, threw her off. So it don't hit for everybody. But for me, I was like, yes, please. I'm into the whole thing, honestly.
Yeah. Just the drama of it all. It's so high drama. Sadie Frost plays Lucy.
Okay.
And she's fantastic. This is one of her first big roles that she did. So she was also married to Jude Law.
Really?
And because I got real obsessed with her because of this movie. I was like, this lady is fantastic. First of all, she's beautiful. She's hot.
Yes.
Sexy. Fantastic. Number two, she killed this film. Like, I thought she was so good in this. I thought she was better than Winona Ryder in this.
I agree.
Yeah. So she was married to Jude Law for a while. They got divorced when he had an affair with Sienna Miller.
Did Sadie wrong.
Just a little tea for everybody.
Here's one. Did you know that Juliette Lewis was the original choice for that role?
Really? Ooh,
Yes, she couldn't do it for
weird.
scheduling. But so here's something else. Sadie Frost didn't go audition for Lucy because Winona Ryder was already attached from the beginning, and she said they'll never cast me. I look too much like her. She doesn't look anything like her in this movie.
No.
I mean, I know in life maybe they look a little bit because
Yeah.
she's not a redhead.
Well, and maybe their body types are similar. I was not paying attention to that. Well, and it's hard to like pay attention to that in like period costumes. You know, everybody's corseted and everybody kind of looks the same. But so that maybe it's that. Maybe
They
she's
turn
short.
sideways. They turn sideways to face each other in the gazebo at one point, and Kelly goes, "Look at them asses!" Because they're both wearing their like, what are they called? Their
They're bustles.
bustles. Yes, there you go. Okay. So, but Sadie is so good in this role.
Yeah, she's fantastic.
I hate to skip ahead, but since we're talking about her, I'm gonna go ahead and get it out of the way. Like, when she comes down, first of all, she's perfect as Lucy the whole thing.
Yeah,
she's
she's lovely,
she's
bubbly,
like vivacious and seductive from
energetic,
go. Like, she's
silly,
getting it.
silly and fun too. Like she's like you can tell she's like a giggly, fun girlfriend. You know.
But then when they turn it, and at the like once she's turned, once she raises and she's coming down, holding holding the kid, and then they fight her in the tomb. I'm like, damn! And she pulls it all off.
Yeah, she's awesome. She kills it. Like that's the thing about this movie. I feel so bad for Keanu Reeves, and I even said it at the time. I was like, this wasn't fair to him. Like you want to talk about like he was fresh off of fucking Bill and Ted, and you're like, put him in this movie. Like he just was not at the level with even with the language. I just don't think he was comfortable with the language. You know, like
Okay. Maybe I'm wrong here. Maybe I'm going to be the asshole here. But is Budapest the way that you actually pronounce it? Even in
Budapest.
Budapest. He says it like 7 times in the movie, and every time he says it, I'm like, Keanu, baby. Who is
love.
There's a great line in the new Deadpool movie where Deadpool turns to someone, I won't spoil it, turns to someone and says, "Who's your dialect coach? The Minions?"
God, I laughed so hard watching that movie. I thought I was going to die.
Okay. All right. I'm going to defend Keanu a little bit here, though.
Okay.
Keanu's not great. He's not.
No.
But it occurred to me on this watch, or these 2 watches, Jonathan Harker is like the weakest part of this story anyway.
Very not interesting character, and in a rare twist, he like is servicing a female character, like being put for first and foremost and forward, which is really cool.
It's like the opposite of a fridging, right? Like they put Jonathan Harker in the box with the female vampires so that the rest of the story can happen.
Right.
It's so strange.
It is very strange.
Okay, so he's trapped early on. He's a warning in the middle of the movie, and then he's not like the most active in the hunt for Dracula either.
He's very, very weak, and
they do give him like the final stab or whatever, which I guess could work. But like anyway, he could have died in Transylvania, and the rest of this movie goes on just fine.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't feel that like I don't even feel like she likes him that much. You know, like it's like. She's kind of lovey about him. Oh, we've just kissed, and she's like, you know, humping Dracula at the theater. You know.
So my favorite moment is right towards the end. She and Anthony Hopkins are together, and like the carriage comes around the corner, and she runs to the hill, and she goes, "My love," and it's not Harker that she's talking about. It's Dracula. So absolutely. Okay. Early in the film, as Keanu's making his way into Transylvania, I love Drac's eyes in the sky. They do it there, and then they do it again later when Mina and Lucy are dancing in the rain. That is a cool effect.
It is. It's very creepy. You know, this movie has got a real like creepy edge vibe to it the whole time. To me, it's just very kind of like everything's a little dark and foreboding, and even the like, even the like sexy scenes, you're like, this shouldn't be happening. What's going on? Everyone's making bad choices, but they're good choices. I don't know.
Okay, so the closest that I think I've felt to this in any other like filmed media is probably Hemlock Grove. Have you seen any of that?
I have not watched that. I need to.
Okay.
That's on my list.
I
The
I
real
think
list,
it's
not
another
the one
one.
I tell people about. The real
Yeah,
list.
we broke off the end of Hemlock Grove. We didn't finish it. Actually, I don't believe, but the first season is like really, really high quality, and it's absolutely got this feeling where like everything is sexy, but all of that sexiness sort of feels bad.
Yeah. Like, what is consent? And is it here or is it in the past?
I don't know, man.
If you consented to something 3 lifetimes ago, is
Yeah.
it still consensual now? I don't know. The rules.
Okay, when when Keanu gets to the castle, or actually before he gets to the castle, he gets to the crossroads to get picked up for the castle. The carriage driver has these gloved, pointy ass fingers and
So
like
gross.
reaches way further than an arm's length out and grabs him and lifts him straight up into the carriage. I'm like, maybe I'm gonna get the fuck out of that carriage and not go back. I'm just gonna take my chances with the wolves, Ashley.
Under no circumstances am I staying there an extra month.
No.
Go fuck yourself, buddy. You can
Right.
figure out English customs in the moment, friend.
Write to everyone you know and tell them you are happily staying here for a month.
Dear Mom, let me tell you about my summer at camp. It was very, very weird. Yeah, the whole cast, everything with him in the castle is so creepy and gross. And like, you see the shadow play where he's like moving, the shadows moving towards him, but he's not. And I love all that. Like that holds up so well for me. It just delights me. I'm like, that's so fucking creepy and I love it. So supernatural and weird.
Yes. Okay, so Coppola had this idea when they were in pre-production where when you're in the presence of a creature as evil as Dracula is in this movie, that literally the laws of physics don't work. So like the bottle that Keanu opens and it drips upwards, that's supposed to be because of Dracula's influence. And the shadows moving without him being there, all of that's because Dracula literally fucks up the world when he's around, which is a cool idea. Right? Like to have like a black hole of morality or something.
Right. And it all ties into that like, oh, I'm cursed. I've cursed myself. I've cursed everyone. I curses. Curse. You get a curse and you get a curse and you get a curse.
I also love that this is basically like it's a Romeo Juliet misunderstanding, right? Like, oh, my boyfriend's dead. I'm gonna jump off this bridge before I confirm it with anybody. Okay. Does Dracula seek out Harker specifically, Ashley?
Okay, so he has, before Harker arrives, he's got
Renfield.
fucking Tom Waits.
Oh, the Tom Waits of it all. Yes, he's so good.
I forgot. I was like, he came on the screen and I was like, Tom? And then I was like, how did I fucking forget Tom Waits was in this movie? Yeah, Tom Waits is Renfield. So Renfield's there first, and he fucks with Renfield. And I was trying to figure out if he had like felt Mina's presence, and that's the reason why he was going to London, was to try to find her, and it was just happenstance that Harker is attached to her. That's how he ends up coming and replacing Renfield.
Okay. In the movie, it's very unclear. They don't make it, they don't read it either way, honestly. But there is one line, and on my rewatch, I was like, well, maybe that's Coppola's answer for it. Dracula says something after he sees Mina's picture. He asks Jonathan Harker, do you believe in the fate? And so, like, that to me read that he didn't bring Harker there specifically. Harker was just the next guy that he was going to, suck dry and get information from before he finally was able to go to England. He's still planning to go to England, I think, but it's not about Mina necessarily.
Yeah, the plan was to go to England regardless. He had already bought that he was working on buying that property. I love the chests of dirt that they have to take. I love that whole concept. I've always loved that. We get the trip across the sea on the Carpathia, which is always fun.
Do you know what I thought about this time, Ashley? How pissed Gabrielle would be if she had to tote around a box of French dirt.
Oh my god. She would be so mad.
This motherfucking box of dirt.
Oh no.
Okay, so the one I want to call something out here, the blue flames. All right, you see blue flames in a ring when Jonathan's coming into the castle, and then you see them again at the end when Mina's standing there. She's like cursing in Romanian while Dracula's trying to make it to the castle. All right, those blue flames are the only thing in the whole movie that are actually like post effects. Everything else was done in camera. Everything else was done in camera or practically on set. That is insane to me. It does look better. I mean, first of all, those blue flames look a little silly in comparison to everything else, right?
Right.
But so they're from the book. Although in the book, here's how they work out. They show up one night every year to mark the location of buried treasure. And in the book, the driver stops several times to mark them with a rock so that he can come back the next day and dig up the treasure. Yes. In the movie, it's like not for that pretty clearly at all. Like, I think it's mostly about like supposed to be a hint of his presence or something, like Dracula's there.
An indicator of like magic or something. Yeah.
Super cool Anne Rice connection here. Okay, the big painting of Count Dracula in the main room. That's it's supposed to be, or it's based on a self-portrait by Albrecht Dürer. It's a 15th century German painter, but then they took Gary Oldman's face and put it on top of it, basically. So it's like looks like the young Count. That same original painting, though, was the inspiration for Lasher. That's the image that Anne Rice is like. That's what Lasher looks like.
Oh.
Yes. Isn't that weird?
Yes.
You got to remember it doesn't have Gary Oldman's face.
That's very true. That's very true. It also probably isn't Jack Houston's face. But we love him.
No. All right.
He's not
Here's
ugly.
A list.
He's very handsome.
Jack Houston's very handsome. Lasher's not in the show.
Lasher's not. Grease.
Okay, here's a list of people who also auditioned or who were in the running for Dracula.
Okay.
Andy Garcia.
Okay.
What?
That would be weird.
Very weird. Gabriel Byrne.
Okay, yeah.
I could have seen that.
Yeah,
Armand Assante.
Armand Assante. I forgot
I
he
am
existed.
the law.
I forgot he existed. He was hot, too.
A lot of people. He was so hot at this time.
He was
he was a big deal at this time.
And also physically
Yeah,
hot.
that too. Yeah.
Armand
Antonio
Assante.
Banderas was up for it.
I can't
He was
imagine.
fresh off. Well, he was up for Armand shortly after this, I guess. And then Viggo Mortensen also auditioned for Dracula.
Oh, Viggo.
I think Viggo could have done it.
Oh, that's Sean Bean. Never mind.
No.
It's not Viggo that dies. It's Sean.
Okay, here's what's funny, though. Of all those people, Andy Garcia voiced concern about all the sex scenes.
Oh, interesting.
Isn't that strange? But Andy, it's 92. Take your clothes off, baby. Like, you're so good looking in 92.
Yeah. He just came off The Godfather 3.
Yeah, right. Yes. I didn't even think about it, but that's why he would have been considered. He's so good in that too.
Yeah, he's very good at that.
I would have paid so much money to have seen a follow-up film with Vincent at the head of the family.
Yeah.
I think there's still a little juice in that squeeze if they want to.
I like
he's not that old.
No, he's not. Well, maybe he is. I don't know.
He's not. He just did. What did I see him? Oh, like 3 years ago, he did the Father of the Bride remake with.
Oh, that's right.
Gloria Estefan. He's really good in it. That movie, by the way, it was way better than it had any right to be. Okay. The shaving scene is one of my favorites.
Oh, God.
The walls close in on the actors while it's going on. That's done physically on set. They push the walls in on them. It's so freaking cool, man.
Yeah, that's horrifying. Number one, fuck off with your straight razors, guys. Like, I'm not letting anyone shave me with a straight razor. That is, you are asking to have your throat cut. I realize that I dabble in true crime and I really am into that shit, but I'm just saying, I don't think it's paranoid of me to be like, no thanks, I'll just be hairy. Pass. Especially this fucking creep, this fucking lizard-looking creep with his big powdered wig. Like, I don't... No. Ooh, with his fingernails? Ew, no.
No, thank you. Yeah, he'd already seen the fingernails by that point. No, I'm not going to let you hold the blade, buddy. Man, okay, you already called it. Like, this movie's very sexy, but it feels bad to be so sexy. Monica motherfucking Bellucci.
Yes.
Leading the Dracula's brides.
Oh, Lord. And they do eat a baby. They eat the baby.
Listen, I'm not saying I want them to eat my baby, but like, if babies had to be eaten,
I mean,
Monica could make a reasonable argument, perhaps. That's all I'm saying.
They're beautiful baby eaters.
I will say, man, they do the thing where Dracula comes in and like scares him away, and Monica like shrinks into the pillows again. Or no, she goes up the wall, I think. But the other two do this. They're locked. They're like half a person, but then later they're separate. Anyway, some weird shit going on in that. That's what I'm saying. It's sexy, but then you're like, oh, is it sexy?
Because you're confused. You're like, there's titties, but there's also like The Exorcist, and I don't know what's going on.
When she chomps his crotch, like she opens his pants and is like, oh!
I don't think that's how we.
It's not that Gak 3000.
Oh my God! You need to put the Hawk Tua on there first before. Oh my God.
Okay. I just want to acknowledge. Okay, so Mina is a real piece of work in this thing. The count comes to her across the oceans of time. She is so fucking cold to him and dismiss. Are you acquainted with my husband, sir?
Yes,
and then he says, "Oh, forgive me, I am Prince Vlad." And she goes, "A prince, you say?" And then suddenly they go off to the porno theater. Like, what the hell, man? She's a gold digger.
Yeah, it's wild. It's her quick turn is wild. Like, it's like, the rules of society require that I've only kissed my fiance. Let's hump in the theater.
Okay, how did I ever miss that this was a porno theater, though? They go to see a dirty movie, Ashley.
Yeah, well, see, and I guess maybe my brain was always like, did the movie start dirty or did it become dirty because of them being there? I don't it's all very strange. And then the wolf from the zoo that's escaped the zoo shows up.
No, it started dirty. It started dirty, though, because the way that he says, "No, forgive me, I just wanted you to show me to the cinematograph." And she says, "If you look for culture, sir, go to a museum." She knew he's going to look at dirty movies and then does it anyway after he says he's a prince. I'm telling you, Winona thought Oldman could get it. Yeah,
she wants
absolutely.
that princess card. Apparently, they did not like each other on set.
Isn't that crazy to think about? Because they're so... I don't know. The chemistry's good.
The chemistry is really good. I mean, it would not surprise me if he's a total dick face. Like, I gotta be real. Gary Oldman's got some real douchebag vibes to me. Despite him being very skilled and talented. I could see him being one of those people that would be a lot to work with on set, and that would take themselves very, very seriously,
Yes,
like,
I could see that.
And that could get tiring if you have to be around it a lot. I also wonder, I'm like, because they apparently they came back, everything was cool. They came back from a break, and like, that's when they were all like, nyeh. So it also, I'm like, was he a creep on that break? Did you do something creepy on that break, Gary? What'd you do? Did you try to get too method? I'm not trying to start rumors about Gary Oldman's behavior in 1992. I don't know anything.
Okay, but let's talk about so they're in the porno theater and the wolf breaks loose or whatever and is like circling them. They start petting this wolf together, Ashley, and I immediately, first of all, it's some of the sexiest animal petting I've seen in a long time. They are rubbing that animal in a very suggestive way.
Fucking the wolf, or is the wolf going to be part of the threesome? What's happening?
Okay, you've seen Red Dragon, right? You remember Red Dragon with Anthony Hopkins? Okay. Do you remember the scene where Dollarhide takes what's her name to the veterinarian clinic to show her the tiger?
Yes.
And she grabs the tiger's balls.
Blind. Oh my God. I
was like, this is the tiger ball scene. That's all this is. That's very interesting.
This is the tiger ball scene. Oh my God.
Okay, we're bashing on Mina for making a quick turnaround here, though.
Right.
But Lucy does the same thing. So Lucy calls Dr. Jack Seward in. Oh, Jack, I need your help. Jack, I don't know whatever I'll do. And then she begins to describe her symptoms. And she is very excited about all the changes that she's experiencing. She's like, I can hear the servants down the hall, Jack.
Right. Which, I mean, that would be really exciting. Some of these symptoms I would not mind to have.
Everything tastes so wonderful, Jack. Let me bite you.
Silk feels so good on my skin. Yeah.
Or off of it.
Or off of it. On and off and through.
Okay. So, like, this movie it's not the first one to connect the idea of vampirism to sexually transmitted diseases, but doing it, like, very Front Street, like, literally having a segment in the middle where we talk about blood diseases and transmission and stuff.
Yeah.
I like it. I mean, it's very 90s if you think about it. Like, this was very much a time when you were like, here's how AIDS works, everybody. Don't freak out. Let's talk about it.
Don't freak out. It's fine.
Yeah.
It only killed 80% of a whole population. No big deal.
I don't mean to laugh, but like,
it was so. It now.
It was so strange being a child in like 92 and 93.
Yeah.
When society was finally starting to talk about it.
Yeah.
It would be like if we did COVID and nobody mentioned it until like this year. Yeah. And then finally they were like, so listen, let's talk about those millions of people that died.
And then, if we just blamed it arbitrarily on a group. Oh, wait. I think we probably did that.
Here's why. We should have worn masks. Who knew?
Who knew? It's shocking.
You know all that fucking we did in the 70s? It was a bad idea, folks.
We didn't use condoms, and now it's a mess.
Okay, I love that flowers wither when Dracula enters the room. What a cool idea.
I love all that shit. Anything campy, anything that's like that, like he affects nature or he affects whatever. I love it. I'm into it. I'm into the creepiness of all of it. I love it.
I also like the boldness of him. He's gonna come in and fuck Lucy while the doctors are literally downstairs talking. Like,
I mean, he's got the audacity. If nothing else, our man has the audacity. Well, and Lucy's got all these boyfriends and a fiance, which is very fun too. Like she's got 3 guys like begging for her attention.
Okay, so Kelly asked me about this too. She's like, "All right, let me get this straight. Lucy has been fucking all 3 of those guys, right? And then she picks the one, and now they're just all hanging out hunting together.
Now they're all buddies. Now they're BFFs.
It's a weird situation, right?
It is, and they all like one of them dies, and they're all like,
oh no,
we've lost the Texan. It's like they're all like broken up about it. Like Seward's like holding his dead body and crying. I don't know. I might have made it over dramatic, but it is funny. It's like they are besties.
So my read this time is that all 3 of them are actually very, very flamboyantly gay bachelors who are courting Lucy because they each need a fortune, right? To provide for the lifestyle that they hope to do. So they're going to get themselves a rich widow, whichever one wins the prize. But they're fine hanging out and spending future father-in-law's money, Yeah. I'm so glad to be here for Miss Lucy.
So
what the fuck is Quincy doing, by the way? Like, he doesn't have anything to do in Texas, like all the way across the ocean there?
I mean, he probably did something terrible there and had to leave.
Oh my God. Okay, wait. Guess who plays Quincy? I'd never noticed before. Guess who he is?
Who is Quincy?
It's Billy Campbell.
Billy Campbell.
He's the fucking Rocketeer.
Yeah, Billy Campbell. Yeah.
How cool is that?
Yeah. I was all up in the IMDb page of the movie last night because I was like, I wonder, like trying to remember who was who and what was what.
So you got Richard E. Grant as the doctor, Jack. Then Carrie Elwes is the Lord Holmwood that she eventually picks.
Lord Arthur Holmwood.
Lord and Lady Holmwood. And then the third runner-up is the Texan Quincy. That's Billy Campbell.
Yes.
Yeah,
R.I.P.
I like all three of them. Honestly, they're really good in this.
They're very fun. They're very fun, and they have all three of them have good chemistry together. So it is a good little bromance. Do. Yeah,
they
like
do.
when it's time to go off and like kill Dracula, we get a nice like adventure sequence with the guys, and it's very fun.
Well, and they all like bring something different to the table, right? Like
right,
Carrie
right.
Elwes is like sure and steady the whole time.
Mm-hmm.
Like even when they go down to kill Lucy, right? Like they're literally there. They're cracking open the tomb, and he's like, "Gentlemen, must we desecrate poor Lucy's grave? She died badly." And he's like, "But they didn't convince you already that, I mean, you're already down here with the stakes and everything, and you're still not thinking that we actually need to be here?"
No, actually, we're going to
conversation would have happened.
We're going to desecrate the shit out of this body. We're doing it. We're going to,
and not in any fun ways.
Not in any fun ways. Unless they did that after we left the scene, I don't know.
Okay, all right. So here's another casting what if. Liam Neeson wanted the role of Van Helsing. Almost got it, too.
I love Liam Neeson.
I do, too. I think he would have been a good Van Helsing. So Hopkins expressed interest. Hopkins
is so good in this.
He came out and was like,
crazy.
"Hey, you guys making a Dracula over there?" And he had gotten the Oscar for Silence of the Lambs. Mm-hmm. So Coppola put him to the front of the line, and Neeson had to take a hike. Hopkins is fucking weird in this movie.
He's so weird. This character is so weird. This version of Van Helsing is just bananas. So I have to share this because it's got a Silence of the Lambs crossover here. So I saw a production of Dracula at the Arkansas Repertory Theater when we were in college. Okay, I think we were in college. We had to have been. And at the beginning of the show, they do a curtain speech, and it's Ann Jansen, one of our like local news gals, and she's like, "Tonight the role of Van Helsing will be read by so and so." And I was like, "Well, that's a weird way to phrase that." And I was sitting kind of up in the mezzanine, so I was up above. And turns out the guy who was playing Van Helsing had a heart attack on stage the week before. I don't know if you ever knew Melissa Decker. She was a stage manager. She was a company manager at the Arkansas Rep. She went to Tech too. She was a stage management student.
Yeah, that name sounds familiar.
So she was a company manager there, and I found out through the grapevine what had happened. This guy had a fucking heart attack on stage. Wow. They did not have an understudy for him. They flew in the guy who played Miggs in Silence of the Lambs, who is the guy that threw cum on Jodie Foster and said, "I can smell your cunt." And that's all I could think the whole time. I was like, this is the cum thrower. Oh my God, the cum thrower. And then, Joel, in the second act, the man pulls out a script on stage. And I can see his lines highlighted in the blue lights above. And I looked at my mom and I said, "Well, he might as well have just pulled out his penis." I would be less shocked than being in a professional fucking theater with like professional fucking actors, and this man just pulled out a script. I
feel like if they were going to fly Miggs in from fucking California, there's somebody in between here and there that had done freaking Van Helsing before, right? Like God. Surely there's lots of repertory versions of Dracula around.
This was shocking. But all I could think about, I was like,
it's not like you age out of Van Helsing.
No, you do not. You do not. I mean, he was fantastic. He was great. He was a very fine actor, but it was a really weird night for Ashley and Van Helsing. Yeah. But back to this Van Helsing. Yeah, his character's bananas. Also, what is his fucking job? Like, he's you're a blood scientist, but you're also like this weird historian guy that knows all about this fucking history of, like, what the hell is your job? And you're the mentor of our psychiatrist guy?
In the middle of the storm, when the girls are dancing in the rain, I think, and there's the beast comes out or whatever and fucks Lucy, and Hopkins is reading his books or whatever. He's got a line where he's like, "It's Dracula, the creature I've been searching for my whole life," or something like that. Yeah, there's like a hint that the reason he played the priest in the opening is because this is like some sort of generational curse for his family too, or something, right? Never mind the fact that priests shouldn't have sons, but whatever. I don't think that's in the book. I don't think the idea of Helsing is like a generational, always chasing Dracula. I don't think that's there. That is something that has come up in some of the movies since then.
Right.
Like even in Love at First Bite, the shrink is like a great grandson of Van Helsing or whatever.
Right.
I don't know.
Oh.
So I don't think that's a bad idea. I think it's one of those plot lines in this movie that's not really explained or like elaborated on.
Right.
And it's another one of those weird things that Hopkins does.
I caught myself like, normally I just accept that he's Van Helsing, the vampire hunter. Like in my brain, that's what Van Helsing is. That's what Van Helsing
does.
But this time I was like, but for real, what the fuck does this guy do for a job?
Yeah.
Like,
I mean, he's just a doctor, right? I mean, I guess we have to think about like what was medicine and surgery and like blood pathology at the time.
Sketchy blood transfusions between.
I mean, he sets up the first transfusion and Jack's like, have you perfected the process? And he's like, perfected a process? No.
Right. No, indeed.
We're doing it live, Ashley.
We're doing it live.
That's
the musical.
Callback. Okay. Oh, by the way, okay. I didn't mention this earlier. We talked about Keanu and how Jonathan Harker's kind of like a non-plus thing, but this could have been worse. Talking about casting what ifs. Another person who auditioned for Harker was Charlie Sheen.
Oh my God.
I mean, listen, Budapest is pretty bad, but Charlie Sheen's accent would have been worse. I guarantee you it would have been worse.
Oh my God. Well, like, seriously though, all you had to do was a British accent. Like, chill. Like a standard London British accent, Keanu. Like, come on.
Oh my goodness.
Who was your dialect coach?
Okay. Let's applaud the fang effects in this thing. We see him a couple of times. Dracula's fang drop when he's about to bite Mina when they're in the movie. And then Lucy's got one in the scene where she goes to attack Quincy. They are so good. Like the way they slide it. They're as good as the Interview with the Vampire TV show is.
Yeah, they look good. And you also see them kind of in transition.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like literally,
cool.
I don't know how they did that.
No, because obviously they did it practically.
Yeah, without CGI, yeah.
So
I don't know.
Movie magic is what it is. Movie magic.
Oh, I missed a line here. Hopkins, it's my favorite line in the whole movie. He's just confronted them with the fact that Lucy has been turned into a Nosferatu, or she's gonna be anyway, and they've got to get active. But first, I've got to eat. And he's like outside talking to Quincy, and he's like banging him on the chest, and he goes, "Or your precious Lucy will become a bitch of the devil, a whore of darkness." As he humps his leg.
Unfucking hinged. It is insane.
Oh, I love it so much.
And again, everybody's acting their balls off, like really going for it. Like these are not. No one's making the easy small choice except for Keanu. Like everybody's going balls to the wall, making strong, bold choices for this film.
I think about how, like, as Lecter, Hopkins basically just plays like fucking even keel the whole time, and then like that one time he's like about the fava beans or whatever. But here he is just fucking swinging it the whole time, man, just going crazy, which is good because he's not the only one being dramatic in this movie.
Oh no.
Mina's on the ship. She's writing on her diary and then immediately throwing the pages overboard. It's the most fucking dramatic thing I've ever seen in a film.
My God, yes, it is. I'm so forlorn. My poor prince. Yeah. Yeah, she's got the real like 90s emo vibe that we all had.
So she finally gets to Jonathan. Jonathan Harker's been convalescing in the nunnery since he's escaped from the vampires. And immediately they're going to get married. Let's talk about Mina and Jonathan just making out on the altar of that Greek Orthodox church, just sucking face at the Greek Orthodox church.
Yeah. And the kiss starts out really weird. Like it's like almost like air kissing almost at first. And then it's like really strange. and then it gets real mouth heavy. Which, more happy wedding day. I don't know what to tell you. She don't like you. She don't like you. She likes another guy now. I'm so sorry.
She was thinking of somebody else, Keanu.
She's real trying to get into that kiss though.
So the story on the wedding scene is that it had to be put together at the last minute.
And it had to be redone, didn't it? It had to be reshot.
So they had shot something previously, but they had to be scrapped. So this whole movie, by the way, is shot in and around LA because to save money, the studio was like, we're not going to send you to Europe. So they shot everything in and around LA on sets mostly, but they found an actual Greek Orthodox church. It was a real priest, and they got done with it. And then Coppola and Keanu and Winona are sitting around talking, and they're like, we might have just gotten married, actually.
We might be married for real. Yeah, I mean,
they don't have a license, so it's not legal. But both of them are like, what separates this? We said the vows. We did the whole thing. Like, there was a real priest here. We were in a church. Yeah. We are very fond of each. Anyway, occasionally they apparently call each other like husband and wife. So it's a thing.
Yeah, I love that they still have like, they seem to still have a relationship, a friendship, which is really, really cool. I like that. And I like Keanu as a person. He's lovely.
He's a wonderful human being. Like, that's what, when we didn't know this, honestly, in the 90s, right? But
we didn't. We just thought he was hot. That's all we knew, was that he was hot.
Very, very deep, very interesting person. And a good actor, too. He's just, and we've talked about this before. It's like Jack Nicholson. Like, you know your lane and stay in it. Do what you're good at. Use the tools that you have. And when you do that with Keanu, you can get a great film and a great performance out of him. Okay, we make fun of Keanu already. We've talked about the Budapest of it all. But Winona's accent's crazy and over the top, too.
She says a couple of times.
She says, he travels across icy seas to his beloved home. She makes home like a 7-syllable word.
Like more syllables than a Southerner could ever force into the word.
Home. So I don't care that much for the shipping subplot in the end of this film. Like, we spend 20 minutes. Well, he's going to go by sea and we must travel by train. So we cross him. Oh no, he's going around us at the pass. However, will we beat him now?
Yes. There is
it's
a
like
lot
3 times.
Yeah, there's a lot of like subterfuge that happens and a lot of having to, like, I think we're probably on plan C or D by the time we end up in this final battle with Dracula.
All right, but that final chase though is worth all of the nonsense. It's really, really good.
Fun. It's
they're shooting at the wagon and the wagon's racing sunset.
Yeah. We've got all of his little henchmen and his wolves and all kinds of shit going on. Yeah, it's good stuff.
Okay. Meanwhile, Hopkins and Winona are waiting at the castle for the crew to show up. Mina here gets like activated by Dracula's brides. Winona Ryder's every bit as good at being seductive as Lucy was as Sadie Frost. Yes. Hopkins is ready to risk it all here.
Yep. He is. He's like, let me in that corset.
He goes right in.
Yeah.
Long as she wasn't gonna bite, he would have been fine with it.
Yeah. She got a little bitey around the edges, and he was like, oh, no, I remembered. I got confused by sex, but now I remember that you're a fucking vampire. Almost.
So what do you think about the idea of true love redeeming Vlad? You know, it's basically the ending of Beauty and the Beast, right?
It is. It totally is. There's no rose. I mean, I'm fine with it. I'm fine with like him getting like a redemptive arc. I guess. I don't think I have strong feelings about it one way or the other. How about you?
I think it was conclusive, right? It's a nice clean way to wrap up the film. Did
she go back to Jonathan Harker after all this? Like, is he just pretending like he wasn't like cucked, like the biggest cuck on the planet?
It's like the whole joke about Titanic, right? Like, you know, the ending of Titanic would make you believe that this woman who had lived 80 years and had another husband and children with this man and everything,
been waiting
dies
to die
and races through the pearly gates straight into the arms of her like one night stand from 84 years before or whatever.
We fucked in a car. I'll never forget.
I mean, you do imagine for years after, like, Jonathan's putting the moves on her and she's like, well, you know, Dracula would do it. He's like, shut up about the fucking vampire.
Here, cut your pack and let me just have a little sip.
Oh my God. Okay. I had forgotten about that scene, by the way. Like, I love, like, he vamps up to bite her And then he's like, no, I can't. I'm damned, and that's why I did it, because you died, and I'll save you from damnation. And then she says, no, I want it anyway. And he slices with the thumbnail. It's such a weird move, man.
It is.
But like, again, sexy, but sexy in a way that makes you feel bad about it.
So my beef with that whole scene, that whole section, my beef with that, and Brett and I were both like, what the fuck, dude? Like, they're supposed to be keeping her safe, so they take her to the lunatic asylum? What the fuck, dude? Like, that doesn't seem safe.
No.
Like, there's crazy people there.
Which have already all been activated by Dracula. Like, Dracula comes to town and they all have a riot. And I mean, maybe Seward's not smart enough to put that together, but in retrospect, you ought to be like, hey, I wonder if these psychos all know something about what's going on in town.
Yeah. Maybe this guy that's been eating bugs in this cell over here knows something about what's happening. Yeah,
Man.
it's wild. I was like, let's take you to the safest place we can. This creepy room where you can hear all these people screaming and freaking out in the background. You'll feel very safe. Take a nap. Go to sleep.
Yeah, right. 90s movies would just end and not give a fuck about your denouement, would they?
This movie just stopped. Like, I was like, I forgot that it did that. That movie just quit. It just quit.
Head chop, long zoom, credits, bitch. Time to get another showing in this theater.
Yep. Go on, take your popcorn with you. Bye.
Is so weird. I mean, I don't know what I would have wanted him to do. I guess like the three remaining guys hold each other and talk about the friends we made along the way. I don't know. But
I don't know, but it does. It just straight up quits. They're like, okay, that's your story. And scene.
The name of the movie was Dracula. He's dead.
He's dead, and we're done.
It's the end of this movie.
We're done.
Man, I love this thing. I just love it.
It's a great watch. It really is. It's
fun.
It's fun. It holds up. It doesn't, like, I was worried. I was like, oh my, because this is a lot. It's a lot of like big, bold acting. And I was like, is this going to be like cheesy and make me uncomfortable? Like, am I going to be embarrassed by proxy? That situation. Right. But no, it's very fun. You just have to lean into the whole, like, to the whole epic saga of it all, I mean,
Coppola has made better movies. There's not a doubt. Like the two Godfather movies are ahead. I think you could probably make an argument about Apocalypse Now.
Yeah.
But this is a good movie. And this is, I think, the most fun of his movies to watch. Like,
yeah. Oh, I
you can have a good time
100%.
with this one.
Yeah, it's a good fun watch. It's like, the horror levels are high enough to kind of keep you interested if you like scary as shit. And there's a lot of tension, like tension just like sexual tension, tension between, characters about a variety of things. There's just a lot of tension in the air,
Absolutely.
Are they going to fuck a wolf? Tension? I don't know.
Boy, I really thought she was going to do some of that wolf this time, honestly.
I'm going to grab those balls.
Something, man. I was trying to explain that reference to Kelly, and she does not have the same read for Red Dragon as I do. She was like, she does what in that movie?
Excuse
me? I mean, she's blind, right? She goes, yeah, and I'm like, but it's not like that. But that's the moment that Dollarhide knows he can trust her. See?
Yeah. See, anyway. You learned so much about her there. My God.
For more great Tiger Ball talk, come back.
For all your Tiger Ball needs.
Come back next week, folks. I don't think there are any Tiger Balls in the Vampire Lestat, even in part 6 and 7, which is that's what we're up next. Book club continues as we talk about part 6 and 7. So this is like towards the end of the novel. It's basically the goodbye to Gabrielle as Gabrielle and Lestat find they're not great partners for each other. And
weird, it didn't work out with your mom.
Hello, yeah, right. Fuck, that's the title for next week's episode.
Sorry, buddy.
And part 7 where Marius comes in and says hello, and we hear Marius's story and a lot about ancient vampires, which is a very, very cool part of the book that I'm looking forward to get to talk to. Marius is one of my favorite characters from the novels.
Yeah.
So I'm excited to talk about that. So come back for that, and then our next movie night will be Only Lovers Left Alive.
Oh, I'm so excited for this one.
I'm very excited about that. Neither one of us is the first of these. Well, I say that Neither one of us have seen Love at First Bite either. So we've
No,
watched a
that's very
couple of
true.
new ones to us. That's right. But we think Only Lovers Left Alive is going to be very good.
Right. We're like excited in a good way for that. I was excited for the other one. I just knew
Yeah,
what
it was
we were
fun.
getting into. It was really fun.
Yeah.
It was deliciously terrible.
So after we do that, we'll come back to wrap up the Vampire Lestat novel with the epilogues. There's a couple of epilogue pieces there, so that'll be a pretty full episode as we say goodbye to the novel. And then we won't do another movie night right away because we're going to go into Midnight Mass.
I'm so excited.
I am too. I am so looking forward to breaking down that
I
show.
almost started watching it today.
I did too.
I was like, it
No,
probably
not
needs
yet.
to be a little more fresh. But yeah, I was like, maybe I'll watch Hill House instead. I don't know.
So it's funny because I'm kind of in between a few things right now in my own like personal watching, and I have circled back to Midnight Mass 2 or 3 times. I've been like, no, not yet. Kick it down the can a little further. So that's coming soon though on the show, and then we'll be talking about what comes after that. We'll do some more books or something while we're waiting on Mayfair Witches. That won't be too far away as we are already rounding bases on 2024. Mayfair Witches should be on AMC in early 2025, Talamasca in late 2025. And who knows about the Vampire Lestat and Interview with the Vampire Season 3, but we'll bring you the news when it comes.
Hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah, right?
I really would like it to be around Halloween too. I gotta be honest. Like, I really, really hope that the season releases around like in spooky time, spooky season.
I wouldn't want to wait an extra 6 months if they could get it ready for early, like let's say spring, like they did this year, and get it out by May of 2026. I would hate for them to push it back just because.
Oh no,
but
no!
on the flip side,
when I say October, I mean October 2025.
October 2025.
Yeah.
Come on. I doubt seriously that there's any chance, but who knows? Like, and I will say. Man, I saw a great quote from a creator talking about a business thing that had happened for them, and they were like, "Momentum is easier to keep than create," and it's so true. This show has a lot of momentum right now. The Netflix deal and opening the show up to so many more people, that's going to create some new and extra momentum. So if we can get production rolling and maintain that momentum instead of having to create new momentum.
Right.
I think AMC will take advantage of it if they can. So
Yeah.
you might get your wish.
Well, my fingers are crossed. I do think that if they can go against the grain of these shows that are taking 2 fucking years to put out a season, then I think that viewership will be happier. I mean, fans of shows fans of Bridgerton, we know damn good and well we're about to wait 2 effing years.
Well, so Netflix is at least doing an interesting thing. And look, AMC has done this as well with The Walking Dead in the past, where you get like some episodes and then 6 months later you get some more episodes. And they shrink their production schedules with a split season. I'd be okay with that if you could tell arcs, right? Like if we're going to do 8 episode seasons, here's the problem. 4 ain't enough, right? If you're going to give us 8 episode seasons, dropping 4 in the fall and 4 more in the spring, ain't gonna cut it. It's a tease. There's a great line from Oh Brother Where Art Thou where Delmar asks George Clooney if he wants a bite of the possum, and he says, "Oh no, thank you, Delmar. I'm afraid it might just wake up my appetite without bedding it back on down again." That's 4 episodes, right?
Yeah,
like, don't do that.
Totally is. Yeah, it's like it's a tease. We don't want just a tease.
Man, Amazon did that with Invincible. They gave us literally 4 episodes, I think, and then they went away for like 4 months to come back. And it was because they had promised the show was going to debut this year, and so it was like right before. We're like, here, we got 4 ready. Do that. Anyway, don't do that, AMC, but bring them to us as soon as they're ready and good.
Yes,
no
please,
rush.
Thank you. No rush. Take your time, but also hurry.
But fast. Rush. Hurry. Yes. Yeah. All right, until we come back next week and we talk about the final couple of parts of the Vampire Lestat novel, we have been your hosts. I am Joel.
I'm Ashley.
And we are the Articulate Coven.
Thanks for listening to the Articulate Coven. If you enjoyed the show, check out our groups on Facebook and Discord. Subscribe to the channel on YouTube. Or find us at articulatecoven.com and wherever you listen to podcasts.